We're leaving capitalism. We're leaving it behind because it's literally in the rubble already. Something else is emerging. We're seeing it in real time. Something else that's horrible is emerging. We're not participating. We're creating our own. I know right now it seems like we're in a dangerous place. I believe that the best thing that we can do is get prepared, man. Get prepared. We've seen that if we have any kind of national emergency, such as New Orleans and the levees breaking, such as the hurricanes that happened in the Carolinas, such as the pandemic, like we understand that the people that we're depending on to govern us as a body, they're not handling business. I frankly don't trust them to handle business. So I've done the next best thing, which is to come up with strategies on my own and then incorporate other people's strategies around me so that we can collectively sustain. And so I want to present our strategy that we're working here in Atlanta with a small group of people, a little over 200, but it is a strategy nonetheless that really has merit and value. So if you can entertain this for a second, what we're planning to do is utilize the food system to basically build communities, because everybody understands right now that community is the top tier key factor within sustainability or not. Right? Community being able to come at your call when it's an emergency. Community that's able to shoulder the weight of the burden of labor and tasks that are labor heavy. The best way to get to community is through sustainability, right? Because number one, we need to be sustainable, right? Because a lot of us don't know how to bake bread or make medicine or grow food, right? So anything that we do outside of that is ultimately surely going to crumble or become attached to the system, which is crumbling because we can't sustain ourselves. So we know that food is number one. And I'm saying build community through food systems because I've just found the validity in it over the last couple of years. I myself am a farmer here in Metro Atlanta, and we have been intentional community building since 2014. Before I was a farmer, I was a community advocate. And the premise of my advocacy was that our communities are rich in resources. We just seem to be divided by certain things like gender, ethnicity, titles, religion, right? All these things that are social constructs we fall victim to and adopted them as our own, only to find that they were made to keep us where we are. So what we're doing is building bridges using agriculture, right? So again, what we're looking for is the main two things are people who are willing to learn and people who are willing to teach. Right, that's the first two things that we know we need. We created an app called Farm Fresh 24/7 in 2018, thinking that that was going to be the end all be all. It was going to save everybody because the lack of access that we didn't have to fresh, nutrient dense produce, we were going to have it. And that was going to cure food deserts, food apartheids, whatever you want to name it. We were aiming to cure that. We came up with the app. We had over 100,000 downloads in a small amount of time. And what I learned was really staggering. And the statistics were staggering. And what I learned was out of 100,000 people that downloaded, less than 1% actually made a post. That means out of 100,000 people, less than 1% were actually producers. And that really clicked in my mind. I'm like, okay, the problem is not the access to the produce. The problem is that there's no produce. The problem is that there is no fresh bread. The problem is that there is no homemade goods, right? So we set out to really create our own civilian brigade with this grassroots movement, Collectively Sustainable. And again, what we're doing right now is trying to find all the people who know how to garden, all the farmers, all the homesteaders. If you're interested in building this community with us and interested in building this culture with us, we need you on the front lines to just wave your hand. I'm not saying feed your whole community. We're saying show a man how to grow his own food, or a woman, you know what I mean? Teach a man how to fish, the old analogy. So that's kind of our premise. We want people to learn how to grow their own food, with whatever space they have available, because everybody has to be a part of the food system. And maybe it's not growing food. Maybe you're saving your compost, or saving your scraps for compost. Maybe you're saving your scraps for a farmer that has chickens, or somebody who has backyard chickens. It doesn't even matter. The context of farmer and garden, all that stuff doesn't matter. We're all a part of the food system. We're all a part of agriculture. We should be. And again, that's the texture of the culture shift that we're talking about. So we're utilizing growers in that capacity to start standing up and literally putting their classes on Farm Fresh 24/7. Put your produce, if it's something that you grow, put it on Farm Fresh 24/7. The next thing we need is people who bake. Take a giant step forward again. We need you to jump out there again and produce the bread that you are used to feeding your family. They say if it's that nice, do it twice. If you can find it within your capacity to double your loaf or double your muffins or double your cookies and whatever you're doing for your family, do it again and put it on Farm Fresh 24/7. That'll be tremendous. If you also have the bandwidth to teach somebody the same thing you're doing, that's where the magic happens, right? And the last thing is makers, right? We got the growers, bakers, now we got the makers, the folks who can build greenhouses or garden beds or solar panel installments, right? We need those people to step forward again. We need you to either A, provide the service on Farm Fresh 24/7, or B, teach somebody. Both and would be preferable. Teach somebody in your area. You decide who that person is. You decide the timeline. You decide how frequently it's going to be, right? But we need to do that. We need to start being active within the system of building infrastructure, right? And I said all those things because that's where our community kind of galvanized itself. But one thing stuck out to me even further. It was other people who had different skills. As I got to learn people's skill set as I'm teaching them how to grow food, giving them what I have, they started saying, well, hey, I do radio communications. Hey, what about weapons training? Hey, what about sound bowl healing? What about, orienting our physiology back together? That's where I started to unearth again through food. We start to find other resources within our community. And it's just that simple. So the movement is not just food, it's sustainability. So if you have a skill, a hobby, a passion, a profession that you say is very necessary going forward and creating our own system, because that's essentially what we're doing. We're leaving capitalism. We're leaving it behind because it's literally in the rubble already. Something else is emerging. We're seeing it in real time. Something else that's horrible is emerging. We're not participating. We're creating our own. So as we create our own, again, we have to be sustainable. And you might say, hey, I think everybody needs to know map reading and foraging. That might be your thing that you're passionate about. We're saying bring it to the community. And when I say bring it, I'm saying join the community. And now you host the class. Utilize Farm Fresh 24/7 again to put that class out there. You host the class. And now people can come and visit you and understand that this culture you represent as well. So let me redefine that as well, because this community is not just individual driven. It's businesses. It's other organizations that we're partnering with. Again, we're just trying to edify the culture of community-based decision making. So if that again resonates with your spirit, you should be a part of this movement. And you yourself can have your own community, like my brother Backyard Farms has his own community. He has his own logo, his own farm. He just slaps this patch on his shirts, on his hats. You know what I mean? And this is how we show again the solidarity. That's really what we're doing. So again, we have to start with agriculture though. There's no going forward without growing our food and knowing where our stuff comes from, right? Again, it's expansive because now if anything that you deem worthy to be a part of this sustainability movement, in the quest for sustainability, and you say, hey, we need this, you can step forward and validate the need for it and validate its existence by doing it, right? The whole community is based off of monetary subsidies of $5 a month if you go for the $60 a year, or $7 a month if you want to just do it monthly. Yes, we have to pay money into this. Why? Because the same people who are educating, we want to be able to stick them in a spot called a stewardship center. Right? So this is where if you're a homeowner, you can also play a role. If you're somebody who doesn't necessarily have a skill, maybe you don't have the time or the bandwidth to really teach, but you have green space. You got 1/10 of an acre. You got a backyard that you don't use. We're connecting with you. If you're a farm and you have space that you can allocate, or you're a farm and you need help on a religious basis, we're looking for you. Come on into the community and sign up to be a stewardship center. That just means you can hold space for at least 10 people or 10 vehicles, however you want to frame it. And you can hold space for those lighthouses, those educators, Those people who have something to teach, we can hold space for them. We don't have to pay any absorbent amount of fees or overhead as far as like renting a spot. We don't have to host it at somewhere that's unfamiliar. But these spaces that we call stewardship centers are now going to be very beneficial because guess what? We meet here regularly. It's not only where we do our training, this is where we have our socials. This is where we have our potlucks. This is where we have our game nights. This is where we build the community.
Want your yeast to thrive. So they thrive over sugar and just
You have a little restaurant down there? I heard of her restaurant. She do raps for City Broadcast.
City, yeah.
So I'm working with her. We're going to build out her restaurant.
out, quick change to the left, and then 1, 2.
It's a soul train, man. It's your time. It's your time. Ooh, y'all got flavor over here. These folks got flavor. These folks got seasoning.
You gotta can't wait with it, just move your right. Move your shoulders from the right hand to the left. You gotta step from the front end to the back. Get off the chain with it, don't know how to act. You gotta can't wait with it, tap a floor.
There it is.
Yeah, we off the chain with it, and we
Sunline in the
done
building.
down to the bed, feel studio ass.
Oh, see that?
Right? And that concept is called micro solidarity. But we're building the community, right? So as we find people who are also of our culture, but then we start to intermingle and we see we're connected in hobbies, we're connected in passions, we're connected in lifestyle, we start to build more bridges. And again, these stewardship centers are the farms, they are the homesteads, they are the gardens. So we just meet there. And we, more importantly than anything, we can have the tough conversations. Right. And again, our community goes well past just growing food. We have connections with herbalists, foragers, communication specialists, weapons trainers. Right. We got nurses that come in that do suturing classes and stop the bleed classes. We literally are using each other as resources. And that in and of itself is helping us break down the barriers that have been placed so we keep ourselves divided. It shows us the value of each other. And it shows us the strength in us coming together. So again, I would love for you to join. It's $60 for the year, $7 for the month, because again, those stewardship centers can now be funded. If we have a certain amount of Americans that give $5 a month, we can have our own stipend to the millions of dollars. We can have our own stipend to pour back into these stewardship centers. And we're not saying that we're giving these stewardship centers $50,000, but we're saying an average mortgage is about $1,500, maybe $2,000. You know, especially people with land. You got to think about that. They probably been in the house since 1990, 1980, something like that. But I'm saying we're here. We're strategizing. This is just what I'm putting in the bucket. We're saying that we can cover your mortgage. We might be able to write you a check for $15,000, right? That's a collective pot that we gather that in, and now we can impact these stewardship centers to ensure that their doors remain open and that green space is available for that community to come learn, to come gather, to congregate, to have those tough discussions, to serve as a rally point. If something else goes wrong on the domestic side, we can have somewhere that we flee to, somewhere that's fortified, somewhere that has water tanks and food growing. That's why it's supposed to be a garden or a homestead or a farm. We can start to organize ourselves. So again, this is a strategy that we're doing right now at our farm. We hold space. We have 7 other farms or homesteads or just people with green spaces and gardens. We're doing this around Atlanta right now. We practice radio communications. We go hiking. We practice evac drills or packing bug out bags. We practice bunkering in. We practice how much food do you need per person in your household, how much water. We're preparing ourselves, not out of fear, but because we're leaving the system, right? We're leaving the system, but we need more people. We need more people because we know numbers matter. And again, I'm just throwing this out as my solution, our solution. here in Atlanta. And again, we are past Atlanta. We have New Orleans popping up with stewardship centers, plural. We have Philadelphia. We have Florida. We have South Carolina. We have Tennessee. We have Alabama. We're looking for more people to join the culture of collectively sustainable. We're not meant to do this by ourselves, nor can we. But when we decentralize the load and decentralize the pressure, everybody does a little bit and adds to the pot. That's a tremendous change that we're really enacting. So again, if this message came through your ears and hit your soul, it might be for you. Again, collectivelysustainable.org. You can access it by laptop or desktop, straight up, join the movement from there. Or if you want to do it off your phone, you download the Heartbeat Chat app for free off Google and Apple stores. Then come back to collectivelysustainable.org and click that membership link again and join the movement. You'll get access to a year-long curriculum. So even if you're somebody in your area and you don't have anybody that shows up, you still get access to a monthly theme. Baked bread. You're going to learn about herbalism. You're going to learn how to use your native plants to make your own fertilizer. You're going to learn how to make lactobacillus. These are things you're still going to have access to. But the biggest thing that we do, our biggest part of our curriculum, is showing you how to engage your community so that you can build it. How to find the people who you want to build with, who share the same values of, not being divided from race, religion, and income, and all the other constructs that society has created just so we stay apart. We're literally doing that right now, and I'm hoping that you join as well. Collectivelysustainable.org, man. Nature Boy.